Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Reed and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about A Clash of Kings, which is Book 2 of A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. Martin, which is my favorite book series of all time. If you haven't read the books, but you've seen Game of Thrones, this book will mostly talk about Season 2, as with my review. So there won't be that much that will be spoiled for you, but if you haven't read A Clash of Kings and you want to, please use the description down below. It would help me out a lot. So let's get started with the review. This time I'll be breaking down my review by each point of view character and kind of talk about the plot from everybody's perspective. So we're going to start off today with Tyrion, because I feel like he does the most in this novel. In this book, he becomes the Hand of the King, but he soon finds out that the public hates him and blames him for all of the monarchy's problems, instead of blaming, Cersei or Joffrey or even Robert. The public hates him more than he hates any of those other people. So once again, he gets the blame for much of stuff he didn't do. I like how he openly defends Sansa in front of Joffrey when nobody else would. I think that was pretty noble of him, because he didn't really have to do that, but he did because he actually cares about Sansa, and he's a nice guy. The entire time Tyrion is Joffrey's hand, he plots against Cersei, and one of the things he does is he separates Tommen and Marcella from her, which makes Cersei even more paranoid of him. And then we learn more about his relationship with Shae, and how he kind of hides her in this secret place so nobody could find her. And Cersei finds out that he's in love with a prostitute, so she threatens to kill the prostitute, but that woman turns out to not be Shae. I thought that Tyrion was really clever to play it off like she was his prostitute / level. So I was a bit confused why that prostitute woman played along with it. I don't know if George explained that or not, but to me, I was just confused as to why she went along with it. Maybe she was friends with Shae. That's not clear. I don't know. But besides that, I thought Tyrion was pretty clever playing it off. And then during the Battle of the Blackwater, he did more than pretty much anybody else on his side. He showed true bravery, and nobody respected him for it. His own dad was like, well, that's what's expected of you. Why do you want thanks? But he pretty much saved every single one of them. We find out how much of a bitch Cersei is because he paid Sir Mandon to kill Tyrion. But it's a good thing because his loyal squire, Podrick Payne, stepped in and saved him by pushing Sir Mandon off the boat. Good for you, Pod. Even though Tyrion lost his nose, he looks even more ugly and disfigured. He saved everybody but at the cost of his nose. Not like his entire nose, the tip of his nose. So now he looks even more ugly and disformed, which means the public's gonna hate him even more, because these were very superstitious times. His dad's gonna hate him even more, his sister hates him. I mean, they already hated him to begin with, so I guess it's not that bad. So the next character we're gonna talk about is Olya, who along with Tyrion and Cersei is my favorite characters. She spends the first half of the book trying to get back to Winterfell by traveling disguised as a boy, trying to get into the Night's Watch. She travels with this Night's Watchman named Yoren, who's recruiting people, and he takes her, and people like Gendry and Hot Pie. And just when she thinks he's gonna go home and see her brother Jon, something tragic happens that prevents her from. Because unfortunately, the man from the Night's Watch is killed by the Lannisters. So now she has to travel with his prisoner Jaqen. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Well, Jaqen offers her the possibility of learning how to steal faces, which is very important because that's what she does in books 4 and 5. So this novel introduces us to the Faceless Men, or at least the idea of them. And I think they're one of my favorite elements of the series because of how mysterious they are and how mysterious their powers work, where they come from, stuff like that. You never really get a clear answer. And I just love Olya as a character because she takes no bullshit, but she's also very vulnerable and has a lot of character flaws. And I liked her relationship with Gendry and Yoren and little Jaqen, and even Roose Bolton. She was his squire for a little bit, which in the TV show, she was actually Tywin Lannister's cupbearer, but in the books it was Bolton. Moving on to Jon Snow, he finally gets to go beyond the wall in this book. And he does this because he and some other Night's Watch brothers are trying to find his uncle Benjen, who went missing towards the start of book one. And he gets to meet these tribes and different groups of people who live beyond the wall, and through them he gets to learn more tales about the others. And then towards the end of the book, he finally meets the wildlings, including Ygritte and Mace Raider and Tormund, and he's supposed to kill Ygritte, but he lets her escape. And then he tries to infiltrate the wildlings to learn what the plans are. But to do that, he has to prove himself by killing his Lord Commander. Now, I'm not as interested in Jon as a character at the moment compared to some of the others, but I like his storyline, and I like Ygritte and Tormund and even Mace Raider. They seem like very interesting people. Now moving on to Sansa, I actually like Sansa's arc in this book a lot. She's still forced to be engaged to Joffrey, and is forbidden to leave King's Landing. But while in the first book she was very naive and trusting of people, she's now more cynical but more intelligent, and she now knows how to play the Game of Thrones with the help of Cersei. The whole book, she learns how to say exactly what the Lannisters want her to say, and that keeps her alive. But throughout the book, she still holds out hope that she'd be able to leave and go back to Winterfell. Because after she saves Dantel Hollow's life and makes him a kind of a jester, he agrees to help her escape King's Landing on the day of Joffrey's wedding. And during the Battle of Blackwater, I like her relationship with the Hound, as he is one of the only characters in the book to see the good in him. And through Sansa, we start to see the real Cersei, who is a drunk, spiteful, miserable woman. Cersei's very jealous of her brother Jaime, and she wishes that she was a man, and that just comes off as spiteful and just a terrible bitch. I hate Cersei, but that's why I love Cersei. Now moving on to everybody's favorite character, Bran. Just kidding, Bran sucks. While I like Bran's storylines, though, Bran himself is very bland. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to be talking about Bran, calling him bland. So Bland spends most of his chapters whining about being crippled, and considering that the other characters have way more struggles than him at this point, I think that Bland's being very overdramatic. But then again, he's only 8, so I guess 8-year-olds are very overdramatic sometimes. I think his dreams are very interesting. There are mysterious prophecies that hint at more of the fantasy elements in A Song of Ice and Fire that the series itself has yet to explain, like the Children of the Forest, or the Three-Eyed Raven, and stuff like that. I liked his fake-out death, because it was very sad to see his siblings and his mom think that he was dead. I liked Jojen and Mira, how even though they just met Bland, they support him, and they quickly learn to trust each other. And of course, through Bland's chapters, we see more of Hodor, who, he's Hodor, he's awesome. Moving on to Catelyn, who's a very controversial character in the fandom. A lot of people seem to hate her, but I like her despite her faults, because she is a very flawed character who makes a bunch of bad decisions. A lot of them shown in this book too. In this one, she struggles being a leader of the Tully Stark army, and she works more on emotion than logic and strategy, which is not something an army leader would want, a navy leader would want. She slowly gets an alliance with Renly Baratheon and his army, and it seems like things are going well until he gets killed by Melisandre's shadow, and then everybody blames it on Catelyn and Brienne. Now, I like her relationship with Brienne and how they grow to trust each other after Catelyn defends Brienne's honor. Though I think she made a very bad decision releasing Jaime. Now, I know she was desperate to see her daughters again, especially after finding out that Brienne's dead, but she should have waited for Robb to come back and come up with a better plan without her going behind Robb's back. That's just a bad decision, and now nobody's going to take you seriously. Moving on to the easily hateable Theon. Now, Theon was nothing but horny for the first half of this book, because he's sleeping with every single woman he comes into contact with. And I like how this comes to bite him in the ass in the most hilarious way possible when he finds out that a woman he's about to sleep with is actually his sister, and she was just messing with him because he hasn't seen her in so long he forgot what she looked like. But Theon, as a character, is very annoying and entitled, but he also has a very sad past. He never felt at home in Winterfell, and the Greyjoy family never trusted him either, and didn't like him. They never cared for him. He's he takes over Winterfell towards the end of the book, and he becomes even more hateable, but in a good way. Like Joffrey, you love to hate him. His reign over Winterfell doesn't last long though, because the Boltons take over Winterfell and Theon is taken as Ramsay's prisoner, and anybody knows in book 5 how bad that was. Ramsay sucks. Learn more about that in a few books, but pretty much after this book for Theon, he kind of disappears for a while. Like, we don't see him in book 3 or book 4. So, yeah, he just kind of disappears for a while. Moving on to Davos, who I don't really have much to say about, because he has the least amount of chapters in this book. But through Davos, we get to see the Baratheon side of the conflict at the Battle of the Blackwater, and we see that Stannis isn't a completely bad person, because he didn't know that Stanley was going to die. I guess he himself wasn't involved in Melisandre's assassination of Renly. This thing makes things a lot less black and white, because neither he or Tyrion are the bad guys in this fight. And through Davos we get to meet Melisandre, who's a very mysterious character, and I can't wait to find out more about her in the Winds of Winter. Now the last character I'm going to talk about is Daenerys, and I decided to talk about her last because her chapters are almost completely removed from the rest of the storylines. Now, in this book, she doesn't have as many chapters as she does in Game of Thrones, though when she was in it, things were always interesting. In this book, she goes to court and asks them for aid in reclaiming the throne, and she soon finds out that they're not as nice as they seem. They want to kill her and they want to take her dragons, and they trick her into entering the House of the Undying to try to kill her. And in the House of the Undying, she has many prophetic visions of the future, similar to Bran. Now, these prophecies are pretty vague to me at the moment, so I really don't want to get into those right now, because it seems like a video for another day. Now, she is saved by her dragon Drogon, appropriately named, and he kills the Undying. Gotta mention, I love Drogon. He's my favorite of the dragons. He's a badass dragon. I'd love to have him as my dragon. But yeah, I like Daenerys' chapters a lot. So in conclusion, this is a fantastic novel and a fantastic series of books. I love book 2 so much better than season 2 of the show because it goes such in depth compared to the show. You get to see so much more layers on what's going on. I love how each character's chapters bring out a different voice and tone from the author, and I like how interconnected things in this world are. How we get to see conflicts from different points of view and how unique and different the houses and the different lands are. And I like how the magical elements are still shrouded in mystery, and many people don't believe in magic, and they think they're just tales and stories. But the magic is real, and the others are coming for them. I think this book is about equal to book 1 in my opinion. So like book 1, I'm giving it a B+. It's still a very great book. I love this series. Can't wait to review book 3. I'm currently in the process of rereading it. So I'll probably have that done by November. But everybody, thank you for watching. I post videos every Thursdays and Sundays. So make sure you click below and subscribe and leave a like. Let me know what you think about A Clash of Kings and A Song of Ice and Fire as a whole, and how you think it's different from the TV show. I hope everybody out there has a nice day and stays safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.